Hi everybody, this is Bill McCabe, and we're going to take a look at another one of our softer or internal concepts. And this is related to what we call cobra knowledge or cobra technique. Cobra, in a sense of cobra the snake, and everything that's in this body of knowledge in some way moves in a soft and fluid and curvilinear fashion, much like a snake would move. And because of that, and you'll see this in relatively short order over the next few videos, it has some very unique and meaningful and significant applications. Okay, so the first thing I want you to get is this. We talked about this in a previous video under cobra, and you can go back and look for that. You'll see previous references to it. But there's something that you absolutely have got to have nailed, and it's this motion. And I call this motion teacupping, because in a way you can have the image in your mind that you have a cup of some fluid in your hand, and you're just sort of keeping it balanced as the hand is moving. Then as you do that, the rest of your body moves in concert with that hand, so that there's a flow that your body acquires over time, the more you practice this, so that the whole body begins to integrate. In the beginning, and I'll just do it as a beginner does it, as I'm doing a few seconds ago, the hand just moves and the body doesn't understand what's happening yet, so the body resists it. Okay, and you find yourself trying to make it happen, and there's a lot of stiffness in the joints. But over time, it smooths out. It becomes very big, or it becomes very small. And it's just, or intermediate, however you want to play it. You can play it vertically, you can play it linearly, horizontally, outside or inside, and it plays out the same way. You just have a feel for it, and it becomes a very natural movement. In fact, it becomes so natural that it begins to radiate in everything that you do. So, what I've learned over time is that the best way for people to try to get this is to look over my shoulder from the rear and to copy me as I'm doing it, rather than looking from the front and trying to see a mirror image. So I'm going to have Steve, the camera person, step over here, if you will, and he's going to give you an angle that you can copy. And I just want you, as you're viewing this, to attempt it on your own, copying what I'm doing, trying to get an idea of what this motion feels and looks like. Okay? Doing good out there. Just keep it clean. Now, some of you have probably already noticed that this motion fully integrates at several levels one of the fundamental power dynamics of all the martial arts, and that is the figure eight. The figure eight is this. But the yin and yang diagram, if you look at it, the relationship between yin and yang and the circle is also a figure eight variant. And it does not take a big stretch of the imagination to look at this and to see that we're also describing yin and yang. Can you see it? It's yin and yang in the circle. Okay, you work on one side and then also give yourself the opportunity to work it on the other side. And we'll do that right now since we have a few seconds together. So we're here. I'm a voluntary for a bit. Here's sort of what it looks like in the air against the person. We're going to go back and visit with this again I just want you to get an idea of how it plays out. Okay? Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky. Here's what we just did. Now, this is generally referred to as the full move, or the positive move, or the yang move. The yang meaning that it's generally an energized or positive force move, and you're setting a person up for direct application of force emitting from yourself. The opposing side of that is the yin move, and it incorporates a like motion, and we're going to show you how to do that. The yin move breathes the attacker's energy in, and it liquidates the energy in a downward drain. It basically drains the energy of the incoming attacker. It takes it to your center line and drops it out and drops it to the sides. The yin move is here. And you can sort of see the outflow there. Now, I want you to get this, so I'm going to do the same thing as we did a few seconds ago. I'm going to model it for you by standing in front of you in your viewer position, and then you could attempt to copy it on your own. My hand is in front, come through, back, out, around, and through. And this is still a teacup. How that works? Now I know it's tricky, so what you have to do is you have to find a way to put this on repeat on your computer. There's ways to do that. You just have to research that yourself. The other side. Again, we refer to this as yin, or quiet, or soft, or recessive, or passive instead of active. And you'll see why in the upcoming videos. An example of how this will look against someone opposing me would be we mix on the inside here, down, and she continues it. Okay. So you can see the kind of flow that it has. Now, as we wind down this brief introduction to the concept, I'm going to share something with you that, if you haven't already picked it up or sensed it, it's going to reveal itself to you in a flash, just as I lay it out for you. We explain this as two movements, as two concepts, but even though you feel like you're doing two completely different movements, you're actually doing exactly the same movement both ways. And by understanding it as a yang movement, or as an active or proactive movement, versus a yin or a passive movement, your mind gives a completely different interpretation to what is essentially an identical flow. So what I was doing with my arm did not change between either of the exercises. I was doing essentially exactly the same thing. If you look at it, you'll see it now. Just try to remember what you just did, and you'll sense that I'm doing exactly the same thing both ways. If I'm doing the yang movement, which is this, or if I'm doing the yin movement, which is this, they're still exactly the same thing. And that's one of the great mysteries of the martial arts, is that everything that you do has a side that is readily apparent, and that's usually the yang side, because it's where all the force is at and where all the energy is at. But it has a side that we refer to as the shadow side, which is like the invisible side that you only know of if you're aware of what a shadow's energy is like. And you need to look for that in everything that you do, because if you only have one half of the energy, you're missing half of the potential energy that you can be employing to your gain and your objective. So that's something for you to think about. Until we meet again, think on these matters, and hopefully we'll be ready for the next phase.